Hey, Biff, have you heard about the population of Ireland?
No, I have not heard
It's
about
Dublin.
the population.
It's Dublin.
Why do we do this every week?
What?
Or every two?
You're a smart guy.
Yeah.
What do you call a fly with no wings?
What do you call a fly with no wings?
A walk. Hello, everybody. That exacerbated piece of man meat is Biff. I'm Jacques, and welcome to Carnival Personnel. Biff, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You know, it's been a fun week. We've had a hiatus from pet rescue for a while. Tomorrow we are driving to the other end of the state to get 2 rescue puppies. I don't know puppies, but you know, management. Man, she knew what she was doing, Biff. She knew what she was doing. She showed me the picture side by side of these, 2 puppies that this rescue needs a foster for. And she's like, which one can we get? Knowing that I don't have the ability to not say both.
Yeah. There's going to be a situation where, you ask, hey, how many legs combined do they have? And she says, oh, they've got 8 legs combined. And it turns out that one of them has 3 and the other one has 5. Right? It's not one of those situations, right?
Well, with the people, with the animals we usually get, it possibly. But no, that's exciting. Sadly, I flew solo today, but I recorded next week's podcast, The Sideshow, with a really good friend of mine. And I'll give you a little backstory.
Yeah.
The guy ran one of the largest production companies in LA in the reality space.
Okay.
I think it's called Authentic Entertainment. Unfortunately, he doesn't take credit for, he takes blame for. He gave the world's Tots and Tiara, which spun off Honey Boo Boo. And we don't talk about it at all on the podcast, but long story short, as far as that go, he put Honey Boo Boo's family in. Basically, he created Tots and Tiara to show people, oh my God, this world out there of these 5-year-old beauty pageants is horrible, and all these children should be taken away from their parents. And it turned into a 10-year running franchise that had spinoffs. But he gave it all up to move to the, back to the Boston area. He's a Massachusetts guy. He had a long 6-year plan. Him and his wife got into gourmet chocolate making.
Nice.
And it took him a couple years to get up and running, but they knew it. They had a 6-year plan, and, it's fun to talk in detail about how that decision was made, how they ethically source their beans and how they have an impact on like the different local, Guatemalan and Ecuadorian, partners that they have. It was a lot of fun. It was informational. You would have stepped in and made us stop talking a little bit about Julian Edelman, because the first time I walked in his office, Julian Edelman was a rookie, and I think I was the only other person who was saying this kid's going to be special, and he had a framed picture of him wearing Edelman's jersey. So anyways, that next week it's Tom Rogan, it's Goodell, Good Now, not Goodell.
Goodell. Holy cow!
Well, we're gonna get into a lot of hockey today. Today we turn.
Goodell is not hockey.
Oh no, he's the NFL, right? But today we will. Heads up, everybody. This is the podcast I think non-hockey people feared when you stepped in to help out. When Joe went to the rickety stool and rope store. Yeah. This is going to be mostly hockey. So let's get through the crap so we can get into it. Biff, my relationship is on the rocks. I'm getting ready to break up, and maybe I'll announce it here. We have 8 Alexia devices around the house.
Okay.
And either I've had a stroke recently that I don't know about.
Okay.
Or the hearing of all the Alexias have gotten so bad and problematic, and my whole family's been complaining about it. I'll ask it every day to do the same thing while I'm, making the boys breakfast in the morning. I'll be like, play MSNBC. We have no songs by NBC. It's like it literally the same half dozen things I ask it to do on a daily basis. And I've started looking on the web, and I'm seeing more and more people saying, yeah, I've had it for 6 years, loved it, but these things are getting progressively more annoying than helpful. I used to make fun of my mom when she first got Siri, and I remember her exact words as, "Siri is ignorant. Watch this." And my mom's like, "Watch this.
No.
Call my sister Debbie. Here are the top 10 sushi places in your area." And I'm like,
Yeah, but wait. Before you go further, I want you to do an impression of your mom talking to Siri.
well, that's the thing. My mom, she has a wicked accent. And look, I know I have an accent, sometimes. It's not really an accent. I have more of a speech impediment than an accent, which complements my dyslexia well, ladies. And anyways, it's like I ask the same thing. It's not like I'm asking new commands or it to, compute quantum physics. It's simple stuff like play the same radio station I listen to all the time. Play this band all the time. So I don't know. I'm actually thinking about going and trying one of the Google ones. Do you have any of these around your mansion?
We do have the Alexa, but I mean, I don't use it that much, and I don't, it's like I don't have a real use for it that much partly because everything's on my phone, and then on my phone everything is Google based because I've got a Droid. So if I'm gonna do anything on that, it's gonna be just basically the Google driven stuff.
So yeah, we might be breaking up. Maybe we'll get some counseling. I'll see if I can salvage it, but I think I'm going to try one of the Google devices. But like I said, it's nice because we use them as an intercom system. If I'm down in my office and the little guy is up in his room, it's really nice to just be able to, say drop into this room, or if he's out in the clubhouse. But it's become a frustration.
That's the only time I really use it. It's useful. Like I literally use it. Like if I'm coming home from the grocery store, I could just drop in on the living room where James typically is and just say, "Hey, groceries coming home. I'm going to need your help in 15 minutes, whatever." You know
what else is nice? And we use a lot, when you're cooking something and you're out of eggs, out of soy milk, you can just say, "Add this to the list." And then when you get to the store, you call up your list and it's all there. So I mean, it's helpful to a point, but honestly, I've either had a mild stroke of recent and everybody in my family and the rest of the world is being kind, or the Alexia device isn't working as well. The other thing not working as well these days is Olympia Dukakis.
Oh, come on. Be nice to Olympia Dukakis.
Lowell's
own. Great.
Lowell's very own. Yeah. She's from my town. She's from Lowell, Mass. First cousin of the great Governor Mike Dukakis.
Yeah. I remember she used to campaign for him. Yeah, absolutely.
She's one of those amazing stories that give old fucks like you and me hope. She had a decent career, but it wasn't until Moonstruck that she really so her big breakthrough comes at age 56.
Sure, yeah. But she was fantastic. That was a fantastic movie. The only thing that was kind of negative about that movie was like Cher's kind of lame Oscar speech, and other than that, that was a fantastic movie.
But she won an Oscar too, Olivia Dukakis, for Best Supporting. And it's do you love him? Yeah, I do. Oh, that's too bad. It's one of my favorite lines. Yeah. That is a fantastic, fantastic movie. Yeah. Like I said, she was a working actress, a good theater career, but her real big breakthrough break came through. So she passed away this week. And like I said, it's Lowell's own. Biff, Mortal Kombat.
Did you see it?
Oh, well, it's free. God. And management liked the first one.
You know what? Time is not free, damn it.
and we're still kind of a little bit on lockdown here. So but dude, it's one of those movies where it's a beloved franchise.
It's a video game franchise,
right? But it's beloved and it gets referenced all the time. I mean, how many different TV shows or movies do you hear somebody say "finish him" and direct reference?
Yeah, right. I understand the pop culture significance of the franchise, but just like they didn't have to make the Final Fantasy movie, I don't think they needed to make the Mortal Kombat movie.
They really did it. And look, you and I love Kong and Godzilla for all the right reasons. Was the last Kong Godzilla movie a really great movie? No, because none of them have been. But are they awesome and fun watching? Yes.
Well, 100%. Destroy All Monsters was an amazing movie. That should have won an Oscar.
Okay.
But that's a different story. That's a different story.
But it was. I mean, Kong vs. Godzilla was awfulsome. Copyright counterfeit personnel coined by Joe, but completely awfulsome, worth it. It was a fun ride. It kept getting more absurd. But this Mortal Kombat, one of the things that both management and I watched is like, it's 2021 and it's pretty sexist and pretty not woke. It was the female characters, which were few and far between, were almost relegated to cooking and cleaning and wear that dress I like versus being a badass. No, it's a big budget movie, people looking forward to it, and I just was amazed at like how bad the writing, acting, everything about it was. And I wanted to like it. I didn't go in thinking, oh, this is going to be stupid. I went in thinking, yeah, this could be a fun ride. But that said, it's probably killing it. I haven't looked, but it's probably killing it in the numbers.
Was it better or worse than Rampage? Did you see Rampage?
Of course I saw Rampage. Well, okay, Rampage was ridiculous and over the top, but it's one of those.
Listen, I'm just listening. I just need yes or no. One or the other. Was it better or worse than Rampage?
Worse than Rampage.
Oh my God, that is horrible.
Worse than Rampage.
Oh my God.
No, but it was hard. So President Biden is kind of flexing muscle, and I don't know how much you're following this. COVID.
Yeah.
And making the big pharma, share their 11 herbs and spices formula. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's for the ones that was funded, but because I think was it J&J that wasn't funded? Or wait, one of them wasn't funded, right? It's just the one that was federally funded. Is that right?
The ones that took the money.
Right. I mean, I think to some degree, this is part of my gripes with the, lot of the pharmaceuticals where there are literally drugs that are developed using like NIH money and whatever, and yet these pharma companies are gouging, people for it. So in this case, if this is it'd be great if this is a precedent where there is a certain limitation to how much you can, gouge for, and this is obviously a very special circumstance. But I'm all for it. I mean, this is a freaking global pandemic, and when India is having the kind of crisis it's having now, it's just one of those things where I don't want cost to be the thing that keeps them from just having just a massive die off, right? It's just horrible right now over there.
Right. And that's one of those things where we can do a whole podcast once a week about the evils of big pharma and all of that. This is a once in a century. Hopefully this is a once in a century pandemic. And again, it's one of those things where in our own country, if we don't get 70 to 80% people taking the vaccines, this is going to stick around. It's going to mutate, and people like you and I who couldn't wait to get our shots are going to be getting more shots in another 2 years because it never really went away.
Well, I mean, it just like you get your flu shots every year, you get your booster shots for certain things. I mean, it's just another thing, unless we can actually eradicate this, like some of these older, polio type of diseases. I mean, obviously, this is something that could, potentially ongoing, right? So,
another disease that is plaguing, California right now and possibly spreading is Caitlyn Jenner. She is always. This whole thing of celebrities running for governor and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know if you caught the new clip of her the other day And
I saw the homeless clip.
Right. When she was at her private airplane hangar talking to the guy in the private airplane hangar next to him who couldn't take looking at the homeless, so he's moving to Arizona. It's like, it's really, you're this real woman of the people, lamenting instead of, hey, we can afford private planes and private. Maybe we can be part of the solution for the homeless versus I'm getting on my private plane and flying where I don't have to see the whole just the whole audacity of and honestly, when she's one of those people who gets all the benefit of a woke society and all the people out there fighting for trans rights, snowflakes like me, snowflakes like you, at the same time, just the worst person who is, honestly, I can't. I was going to say you can't think of a worse woman running for office, but the Republican Party is filled with worse women already in office.
Let's not put the horse before the cart, right? I mean, it's like a cart before the horse, right? Because the recall has to happen first, and then Newsom actually has to be recalled in a vote first, right? And then all of this comes into, and then it becomes a race, right? So. So and not to say that there isn't a good chance that Newsom is recalled, but I mean, it's like, let's not jump the gun. I know obviously the people who are hopefuls are going to jump in right now to kind of establish their their place, right? So I get it, but still, from just a observation kind of standpoint, I don't know if we need to, I mean, it is what it is,
but it's just the worst people lining up, but. And again, right now, is
that porn star running again? There was that porn star that ran a few years back.
Yep. And I'd rather that, but it's I take no joy in what's going on with the GOP right now, ousting Liz Cheney solely because she won't go along with the big lie. And part of me says, you want to have the Schadenfreude gloating of, oh, look at them eat their young, look at them turn in on each other. The problem is it's this whole stop the stealing in Arizona and that whole vote, and we're not going to get into it, but that big lie 6 months later is only getting more fuel and getting worse. And, and the fact that the governor of Florida yesterday signs one of these draconian voting laws, doesn't let the national media come in, doesn't let the local media come in, exclusively sign this document, stripping away voting from poor and black people on Fox and Friends. So that bubble is only hearing more and more. It's all for the big lie. So on one hand, you're like, oh, great, they're really going after each other. On the other hand, you're like, oh, great. There's 40 states that have these restrictive voting laws. They're losing more and more people in their base, yet they're in a better position to control all levers of government in a year.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at it in the context of everything. I mean, and history kind of does that, right? You perpetuate a certain story long enough, then it becomes the story.
I mean, seriously, it is Goebbels tell the biggest lie and just keep hammering it over and over, and soon enough it becomes the truth. And I'm just so done.
That's why Columbus discovered America.
Exactly. Thank you. And it's sad that we still have assholes like Joe Manchin saying, no, we have to do things on a partisan level. When you get people like Mitch McConnell last Wednesday, Thursday, stand in front of a big microphone saying, the GOP Senate is 100% committed on stopping everything Biden wants to do. Flat out, Mitch McConnell comes out again. He said the same thing in 2010 about Obama, saying, they're not going to work with Obama on anything. They're going to make him a one-term president. And then 3 days ago, says the same thing. We're 100% united to stopping the Biden administration.
Well, listen, let's be fair. I mean, how many people in the Senate aren't really in it for themselves, right? I mean, when you say all these things about the Republican Party, everybody's in there kind of in it for themselves, right? And that's why they do what they do, right? And so, Joe Manchin is like any other, person occupying their seat. He's in it for himself because, he's a Democrat in a very red, state. And this is, he has to make sure that, he kind of maintains a certain, thing with his constituents so that, he keeps his job. I mean, what we really need, which will never happen, is freaking term limits on these positions.
That takes so much away. But even in his state, the Republican governor is so for these programs because no state needs infrastructure more than West Virginia. No state needs more federal help than West Virginia. And the crazy thing is these plans nationally are polling plus 70%. So Joe Manchin, you're going to get the support from the Republican president.
This is the common, criticism of, I mean, we hear it all the time about how senators make lousy presidents because they don't really govern anything, as senators, right? I mean, you look at, essentially the kind of the argument is that governors are running, 150th of the United States. So going from the 150th to the one, is right versus you're running 150th of 150th or 100th of one half of this this little thing that does 1/3. It's just,
Biff, you're supposed to be the one good at math.
No, I mean you could just whatever. I mean it's basically though. I mean they're not really running anything, right? So
just running things into the ground.
Yeah.
So Zoom failures. What do you got about? I see it's on the rundown.
So did you see the link?
I haven't got a chance to.
Oh yeah. So this Ohio, the senator from Ohio, and I can't remember what they were having some kind of a meeting, or regarding essentially issues and legislation regarding distracted driving, and he's on the Zoom call and he puts in a background. But he's driving, and you could tell he's driving because number one, you could see his arm moving all kind of funny, and you could see him looking sideways and backwards. And there's a seatbelt across his shoulder. So let's not if you're gonna do a Zoom call and don't try to fool people with a background, number one, and certainly don't I know you're a hypocrite by nature, you're a politician, but still you just don't make it so obvious.
It's just like Dick Cheney running a gun safety camp.
Right? Yeah, it's like one of those. But I mean, but in a way though, I do have to sympathize to some degree because I had my failure, my first major failure today, where I had a big company meeting. Well, it's not company, but like this subgroup, but a lot of people on the call, maybe 80 people on the call, and I thought I muted the mic, but I think I accidentally turned it back on, so I was making ruffling noises, and like 10 minutes into the call, so we're hearing some background noise, so if you could all mute your mic. So I checked and I said, oh shit, it's me. I was the asshole, and one of my friends just immediately, IMs me, said, Biff. He's like, yeah, I'm so lame. I am a loser.
Look, it's not like you recorded a whole podcast and only had one of the two of us and had to jump back on hours later.
Yeah, but here's the difference. How many people listen to that meeting versus listen to our podcast?
Oh, yeah, good point. I wish we had those numbers. What is happening COVID locally?
Well, this is, I wanted to bring this up with you because, as we've been dealing with a lot of, Asian, violence. There's been a lot of activity, and certainly a lot of activity to essentially address that issue. But when the state moves our, COVID level tier to the yellow tier, I'm thinking, he's like, is that like intentional? Are you just intentionally being racist like that? What is up with that? The yellow tier? Are you serious?
Maybe they're just calling attention to how are the vaccination numbers in Koreatown? I mean, are they trying to get the numbers up? Is that what we're looking at?
But actually, in all all jokes aside, yellow tier is essentially the least restrictive of the restrictive tier. So, obviously it's good news, right? So we have super low infection rates. Our transmission rates are low, and so we have for the people who care, indoor drinking is now permitted at 25% capacity. So, alcoholics rejoice, right? I mean, all that stuff, our good friends, Tim and, Dave can go back to the country girl and, Castaic and, hopefully they're they're within the 25% capacity.
God bless him. No, in Massachusetts, things are good. The rates are good. I think Massachusetts is second or third in the percentage of people who can be vaccinated having been vaccinated. Like we're close to 70% of adults who have at least one shot so far. Yeah. Which is great. I mean, and now we're going to have some discussions on the home front when it gets ready for the kids. So.
Yeah,
we'll see what we do with that. But so now let's jump to the original homeland, that crime infested island nation of Japan.
Yeah. So once again, I know that you kind of got in late. I don't know if you got to see this.
I saw that.
I saw the horrible. That. Oh my God! So
that's why your dad really left. That's why he got you guys to Canada.
That could be true. That could be. So so once again, more vehicular violence, in my homeland this a delivery driver, truck driver, minding her own business, just driving down the street, and suddenly she hears this loud bang, and then she sees this, this projectile, hit her windshield, and it turns out some jerk throws a water bottle out from their window, and it hits her, it hits her vehicle. And for one thing, it came from the passenger side, which was kind of interesting, where the person did basically a sky hook from the passenger side.
Wait. Are the steering wheels?
Yeah, everybody drives, on the left hand side. So the steering wheels, are all, all on the, right hand side, right?
Oh,
so right, so that was the passenger tossing with a hook across the roof of its car and hitting this this woman. Like, the person didn't even have the courtesy to litter on their side towards the ditch. No, they had to put it across, which is why it was considered to be even more of a jerk move. There was water in the bottle, Jacques.
Which is interesting, because the question is, was he littering or was he trying to hit?
Well, let's not presume that it was a male. It could have been, it could have been that angry grandma. Who knows?
No,
right?
No, it was a dude. Let's call it what it is. And it's interesting because, I know lots of places, have the forward-looking cameras, for litigious reasons. If you're a fender bender or whatever. So
it's very common in Japan. Like the dash cams are very common in Japan for whatever reason. There's so much dash cam, videos and footage that come out of these things. So the one other thing that was interesting, I don't know if you noticed this, but they interviewed the driver who was the victim.
Yeah.
And they filmed her from below the neck, so you couldn't see her face, and they basically garbled her voice, so you couldn't hear her, because she wanted to essentially not reveal her identity, because, my God, Lord forbid you go public with this, this issue where somebody hit my car with a plastic water bottle. Like, this is so, it just blows my mind that is enough for the person to say, I don't want my identity revealed.
Right. Because if they throw a water bottle out their car, who knows what they'll do next.
I mean, if you're the neighbor who was, talking about like a murder that happened in their neighborhood, of course you don't want your identity revealed. They might come after you, but you got hit by a bottle, huh? And still, you don't want to reveal your identity. Crack me up.
And so now we get to the part of the podcast. I reached out to Joe the other day, and I'm like, hey, I think all the clips that you have curated for me for this week in Joe, all the Self-Indulgent theaters, I've used up. So I'm hoping he's digging through the vault and finding some that he likes. Maybe I'll reuse another one, but we have reached everybody's favorite part of the podcast, the second favorite part of the podcast. I think everybody's favorite part of the podcast is when we sign off. The second favorite part of the podcast is
you have so much faith that people hang on that long.
Let's say John Oliver doing Tutti Frutti by Little Richard.
I'm singing it to music and stuff.
I would be delighted.
All right, I don't know, give this a whirl. It will not go well, but nothing ever really does on this podcast. So here goes nothing going well. Wop bop a loop bop a lop bam boom. Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy. 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 A wop bop a loop bop a lop bump bop. Got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. I've got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. She rocked to the east, she rocked to the west, but she's the gal that I love best. Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy. Speaking of Rudy Giuliani. We haven't heard from this monster in many a week. Has COVID-19 finally gotten a hold of Rudy? Oh Rudy. A wop bop a loop bop a lop bam boom. I got a girl named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Not as crazy as Rudy Giuliani. I'm sorry. Rudy Giuliani is on my mind. Gosh darn it. Okay, that's enough.
Okay, so now we are back in it. Biff, we'll get into the playoffs, but it seemed like 1970s the Federal League made an appearance back in the NHL this week. I don't know if it was the Charlestown Chiefs playing. Who did they play in the finals? That they called up Oglethorpe and all the other teams. I see the white uniforms, but we had the Federalist League making an appearance in New York this week. Why don't you break down?
Oh, boy. Well, let's just say it was a bad week for the New York Rangers, or at least their fans. One Tom Wilson, a forward for the Washington Capitals, a known past recipient of NHL fines and suspensions, essentially got into an initial scuffle with the Rangers forward. I think it was initially Buchnevich, who was basically kind of hacking at his goalie. So Wilson went into quote, protect his goalie, got him down on the ice, and while Buchnevich was face down, he started punching the back of his head. And then a second player jumped on him, and I want to say that was Strome that jumped on him, and he just flung him down. Now Tom Wilson's a big boy. I mean, he's that 6'4", 225 type of guy. He's a huge guy. And so after Strome was flung off, I don't know what he was thinking, but Artemi Panarin, all 5'10" and 170 pounds of him, decided, I'm going to jump this guy. So he jumps this guy, and basically, Wilson just stripped him off like Kong would strip off some, guy trying to hang on him. And then, a couple of punches, stripped his helmet off and just whacked, so essentially caused an injury that knocked out the Rangers' best player out for the rest of the season, which really isn't that meaningful because their season was done. So yeah, hopefully, as long as it's not permanent, the injury was whatever it was. But obviously there. So you expect with that kind of behavior, you expect the NHL Department of Player Safety to bring the hammer down, and turns out that didn't happen. So
especially with a repeat offender.
Yeah. And it was a $5,000 fine, which in terms of fines, that's the most. If you're going to fine a player, that's the most you can fine them. So the way to make them pay is to suspend them, but then they lose their game checks, right? So, but for whatever reason, that led to obviously hockey Twitter just going bananas, right? And so you had a majority saying, what the hell are they thinking? And then you have that, minority saying, so there's two of the minority categories. One, who are the Capitals fans defending their, one of their best players. And then there's another, portion that say, "Yo, this is old time hockey. This is how hockey should be." It's like, yeah, whatever, dude. I mean, we're done with that stuff, right? I mean, this stuff just needs to,
Look,
get out of the.
I'm an old time hockey guy. I like dropping the gloves for the right reasons. I like scrums and stuff, but things like that where somebody's down that you're 50 pounds heavier than, and his arms were also pinned by his side because of the way he was falling, couldn't defend himself as you're punching him in the head. I mean, that's the kind of shit, like that's the stuff that there's no room at all. There's no excuse for it. It's much different than when two people who are just upset, and then when Wilson goes to the box, he's flexing. He's in the box, and that's. I mean, there's no remorse. There's no,
So I think I want to get away from the player because the player is the player, and we have those players. I think I want to go to the heart of the issue, which is the reason why this keeps happening is because the Washington Capitals benefit from this, right? They want, if you look at what the Capitals did, and I don't know if you saw the social media, the Twitter, the tweet that the Capitals put out right after this happened.
I did
with Tom Wilson. Oh, you didn't see it. So it was a photo of Tom Wilson with this thing basically saying, how Tom Wilson lives inside of everybody's, head rent free, right? And then the bottom, there's a quote that says, the best goal scorer in the NHL. So, and that's a funny reference that has something to do with something else. But anyway, so then they got a lot of flack and they realized, oh, we should delete this tweet. But so they deleted the tweet, but it kind of got out there. A few years back, I mean, we've had discussions about goons before, and one of my least favorite goons, was it Cook? He ended up with the Penguins, and Matt Cook, right? He ended up with, and Mario sat him down and said, "You know what? You cannot be doing this. You cannot be playing hockey this way." And at the same time, Mario, to his credit, said, when things like this happen, you got to penalize the team. The team has to not want this to happen, and if the team gets penalized, then it'll essentially help reinforce what the DPOS is doing by having the team go to the player to essentially not repeat this in the future. And for about a year and a half, Matt Cook was like an actual hockey player, but and I think eventually he kind of got left and then became the same D-bag that he always was. But still, I think that if the coach and the owner and the general management, steps in and says, "Hey, you're going to stop doing this, or else, you're going to be out of a job." I mean, I think or something, right? I mean,
no, if you penalize the whole team, then what happened the next? Was it the next game that a Ranger player from the bench was mocking the Hulk?
Oh, that was he. That was funny.
He gets a 10-minute misconduct for taunting from the bench. What the fuck? So
that was so worth it. I'm sorry. I don't care that he got the penalty.
You don't suspend the guy for brutalizing. No. I'm saying.
Yeah. Right.
You don't suspend a guy for brutalizing somebody on the ice, hitting a defensive person in the back of the head, but yet somebody mocks you from the bench and gets a 10-minute misconduct.
I mean, I kind of get it, right? And the reason why I kind of get it is because that was after the line brawl, right? And so the idea was that I think that was the referee's attempt at, de-escalation, right? That's what he wanted to do. So I kind of get it,
But that line brawl was something right out of Slat Shot. The drop of the puck, everybody squares off with a dance partner.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Back in the 80s, there was a couple years where the Bruins, and you'd have to look this up. Maybe I can find clips and post it, where the Bruins in Montreal going into the playoffs kept calling minor league guys up, just absolute gorillas. And I forget, like Jay Miller, Jay Miller, and I forget, why am I blank? I see the guy's name. He ended up being a big radio just jockey here forever. Lyndon Byers, and Jay Miller. Both thugs, both complete thugs. But at one point, the Canadians and the Bruins both called up They're AAA affiliate tough guys. They're AA affiliate tough guys. Went driving around to construction sites in South Boston and just found the biggest apes they could and said, "Hey, can you stand up on skates? Would you like to play one game in the NHL tonight?" And it was. They were. You had Chris Nyland on the other side. Oh, dude, it was just
dream come true.
And there's a part of me that's like, when you see Wilson, and I don't know. So the Rangers taking a step back, which is so funny. I don't know who in the Rangers office decided to write the open letter, to pen the open letter blasting. I've never seen a team.
So allegedly that was James Dolan, the owner. Basically that was his thing, and in fact apparently both Davidson and the I can't remember the Gordon, is that the GM that was fired the day after? Both were apparently against that, and in calls to or from other GMs, they said they had no idea that this was coming. So
the Rangers write this letter that is just black. I mean, it doesn't beat around the bush.
Basically, basically saying George Parros is not fit for this position.
Right. Not fit for the position. But then the next day, when the general manager and the president get blown out, people are like, "Oh my God, they must have written this letter." And the owner, because the league turned around and fined the Rangers $250,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so no, but those are unrelated. Basically, this was a James Dolan week from all indications, where the owner said, "Oh, this is bullshit. I'm going to have this go out to the league. Oh, and our rebuild isn't going fast enough. I'm firing the manager." It's like, and it was such a devastating week, I think, because so obviously the Rangers were already eliminated from the playoffs. They're not a great team, but I think that just about everybody, and even the impatient Rangers fans, saw that, hey, you know what? We see where this is heading to, that this is going to be, this is a team that's, going to do something in a few years. I think that they saw, the future of their rebuild, and for the architects of that to be abruptly fired, I mean, it does two things, right? It basically tells the players, I think, obviously I'm not one of the players, but I would think that the players who probably felt pretty good about the year, even though they're disappointed not making the playoffs, is that, we went really far. We are such a better team than we were last year. We lost the best goalie in the franchise's history, and still, we came this close to a playoff slot. Look at all these guys that are, playing great. And then suddenly saying, "Oh my God, what we did, our boss thinks what we did was garbage this year." Right?
It's a big slap in the face, and I don't know how many free agents these. So before we're all Rangers all the time, this podcast, we're the season ends in 3 days.
Well, kind of.
And so
I don't know. Maybe Vancouver's going to play for a few more days, but
right, because but. That said, where the following week is the sideshow we recorded. By the time you and I chat again, we will be at the end of the first round, starting the second round.
Well, not end of the first round, but you started the first round.
Deep into the first round, right? Depending on how it goes. What are you looking at? First of all, you want to throw out a cup pick and then work backwards? Or you want to talk?
Definitely. I mean, obviously, it's going to be the Lightning, right? Have you seen the news? Did you see their new goalie acquisition?
No, today. They picked somebody up today.
It was about 3 days ago. So you didn't see my my Twitter post?
You did, and I'm blanking on that now. Right, I'm sorry. I did see that. Yes, yeah. I think that puts him over the top. You're right.
Why
even play the playoffs? Why play the playoffs?
In the net? Yeah, with Gronk in net, I don't know that anybody's going to score.
Why even bother playing?
Yeah, right. No, in all seriousness, I actually do have the Lightning as one of the favorites, but I did not pick them. I'm actually picking the Colorado Avalanche to win this year, so that's my pick.
And they beat who?
Well, so it's going to be interesting, right? It's because there's going to be some reseeding. I don't know what's going to what's what. So I'm predicting a Colorado-Carolina final, and I'm predicting Colorado beating Carolina. And then I'm predicting the other two teams coming out, so essentially the Central is Tampa Bay is the Central, and Carolina's the Central, Colorado's the West, and then from the East, I'm picking. I feel kind of scared about it because they're crapping right now, but I'm picking the Islanders out of the East, and then out of the what was the North, the Canadian division. Once again, they're crapping out right now, so I'm worried about that pick, but I'm picking the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay, so you watch a lot more hockey outside the Greater Boston area teams than I do. So are they sticking the 4 divisions, or are they going conference for the playoffs?
No, what they're doing is that you're playing within the division first, and then the division winners, right, get to, and then what they do is they rank the divisions based on rank the winners based on the there's regular season records, and then they're going to essentially face each other.
Okay. So because I was basing on the old school, so right now it's like in the Central round 1, and it could change because there's a couple more games, but right now it looks like the Canes are playing the Predators.
Yep.
In round 1, and I would take the Canes, Lightning over the Panthers. In the West, I would take the Knights over the Blues. And of course, the Avs. The Avs should take the Wild. In 4 games, maybe 5 games. I mean, they have almost identical records, but the Avs.
The Minnesota is the dark horse. That team can cause problems.
So are the Leafs Habs? I mean, it's one of those things on paper. It should be a 4-game, 5-game series, the Leafs versus the Habs. But there's such a rivalry. Does that rivalry really exist? Does that really matter anymore?
I think there is a kind of a background thing. I think it's not so much the rivalry as much as I think that the players feel the pressure of the weight of the meaningfulness of this series for the fans. I don't think the players personally care about the Habs as a team. I think they care more about the fact that everybody else cares that this is a Habs Leafs series.
And then I got the Jets over the Oilers too, and it's one of those things where the Oilers, based on where they've drafted over the last 10 years, the talent on that team, it's ridiculous that they're not a favorite. So I'm picking the Jets too to come out of the North. And of course, I love my Leafs, but the thing about the Jets is that the Jets basically has a Vezina caliber goalie. He's Connor Hellebuck is without a doubt the best goalie in that division, and I think he's a guy that ends up potentially stealing series. And in the East, I'm going with the Bruins. I know it's a big shock. I don't think the Pens are built for the playoffs. So right now, if the playoffs started today, and of course the Bruins play, they have 3 games left. They have another practice game against the Rangers. The game last Thursday, they had 28 shots in the first period. And I felt bad. It's one of those things. It's like the Rangers are coming off losing their best player. And then the next night, the big brawl with the Capitals, and they have nothing left to play for now. And you could just see it. And like you said, they should feel good about the progress they made, but they had the rug pulled out for them. Okay, now go to Boston and play a team that has the best record since the trade deadline. I mean, I don't remember the last time the Bruins picked somebody up at the trade deadline that truly paid this much difference. And ever since they got Hall, I mean, they're 11-1, 11-2 or something like that since the trade deadline. I mean, the best line in hockey when it's working well is Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand. And the second line is okay, but now you have a legit second line, and that's the big thing. So the Islanders, I think, crush the Pens just because the Islanders are built for playoff hockey. I just think they are. The Caps and the Bruins, again, I mean, the Caps, I'm not saying it's a cakewalk, but I'm not simply
so here's my concern with the Bruins. And really, Bruins are definitely good enough to come out of that division. I laughed at you because you make the homer pick, but from a prediction standpoint, I don't think it's a bad pick. My biggest worry with the Bruins is the fact that is really the matchup, right? So, And the Bruins, I think, of the teams in there are right now the most, injury vulnerable. And that's why I worry about the matchups and I worry about the injury. Because if you're playing a series with the Washington Capitals with Tom Wilson, who didn't get suspended for that, right? And then, so there's nobody in the league right now like Tom Wilson, right? There's just nobody out there like him right now. So I think that is a worry, to have a physical series like that against the Capitals. And then they have to turn around and play the Islanders, which is another physical grinding team. I just think that's a bit much. And that's the worry that I have. That's the reason why, I couldn't, pick the Bruins. And I just thought that it goes back to what you said earlier. I thought in that division, the team that is the best built for the playoffs is the Islanders.
Yeah, I mean, it is a homer pick. It is. I think in this case, it's not a bad pick. I'm not. Like, I didn't cry too much that Chara left. I will say, though, somebody like a Chara is built for the grind of the playoffs, and not having that back on the D, because, I mean, it is going anyone. Well, I don't see any of these series going.
I would say think of it this way. You used to have Chara that can protect against a Tom Wilson, and now Chara's on Tom Wilson's side.
That's true. I mean, and that's 100% true. I think and I've said it for years, and our good friend Paul Ruger and I agree. It's like Chara brings a lot to the table. At the same time, he is he is so slow-footed at this point. But in the corners, in front of the net, there's a lot. He still has some game. I don't think any of these series in the East go less than 6 games. I think the first 2 rounds go 6-7 games. But again,
I think the only one that does potentially go short is the Penguins series, whomever the Penguins play. And right now the seedings aren't completely done right now, right? Because there's still some settling that can happen. So you could still have the Capitals could still take over.
The Bruins could technically wind up first,
right?
Or third. I think they're solidified first or third. So no, we will see. But no,
Penguins have the least. I mean, they have Casey DeSmith and Tristan Jarry in net, and that's a kind of a shaky tandem. So I think that's where I think the Pens are the only one where they could have that crappy goaltending and be out in 5.
So again, you have the Cup final coming down to who?
Basically, I have Colorado over Carolina,
and I have the Bruins over Avalanche.
Yeah. Which is a dangerous pick for me to pick Carolina over the Lightning, but I'm doing it anyway.
Nice. So we should update. We should, we should follow that, keep track on Twitter. Yeah. No, I'm excited. I mean, I have, like I said, yes, it's a homer pick. I would pick them anyways. I'm the Bruins equivalent of the Chicago Bears fans from Saturday Night Live, but that pickup of Taylor Hall at the end of the season gave us a legit second line. Biff, have you watched anything fun this week? What are you watching? What do you recommend?
I paid for an online concert.
Do tell.
There is an annual festival of all female rock bands in Japan. So, you might call it the Lilith Fair of Japan, but they're all kind of rock bands. But unlike Lilith Fair, this thing started in 87 and it's still going, or maybe 89 and still going. So Lilith Fair was what 4 years. So yeah, and it's actually it's basically there's about 5 actual bands that play, but in between they'll create these mixing of what they call the all-star medley bands and stuff like that. But it's just it is just so crazy how good these musicians, and I don't understand why there aren't more of it in the West, right? Where the all female bands in the West, there's a lot of them, but I don't see the ones that are like super technically proficient, and I don't know if that's on purpose, because there are plenty of amazing musicians, but they seem to all be kind of doing their own thing and not within the framework of a band.
Now,
So I'd like to see more of that.
Was this family viewing or was this just you?
Hell no. Who else is going to watch that? Come on.
I don't know if your kid watches that.
Get real.
Was that fun? Was it worth the money?
It was fun. Oh, it was actually not that expensive. It was about $30. So, and then what was great about it is it's $30, but it actually started at a reasonable time and ended at an ungodly hour. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but they gave you essentially they left the video archive on for like a week. So I got to actually watch it when I was awake.
What time did it start in Japan?
So it started at like 2 p.m. in Japan, which roughly sometime in the afternoon, but I think it started like 10 o'clock local time here. So 10 p.m. so I could watch the beginning of it, and then it's like, yeah, right. I have to be on East Coast time, so yeah.
Oh, right. It was a weekday thing?
Yeah, it was a weekday. Oh, it also happened last week. So it was last week Thursday in Japan, so last week Wednesday night. So I actually ended up so that's why I ended up watching it this week, really. But last week was what they call Golden Week in Japan. So they have this extended holiday. So that it was the start of what they call the Golden Week. So it was actually a holiday in Japan. So that's why
nice. What does the Golden Week celebrate?
I think I can't remember one of them. I think at the tail end of it is like Mother's Day, right? So, and then at the beginning, there's a couple. I can't remember what it was, but there's like 2 or 3 holidays in a row. So they just basically shut everything down. So,
look, if you don't know, I can't help you out. Okay,
yeah.
Anybody who is listening to me right now, stop this podcast. Go to Netflix. 4-part series called "This Is A Robbery." And I can't believe that I knew so little about this. But in 1990, you can kind of say the day after St. Patrick's Day. So St. Patrick's Day is big here, obviously, but it was bigger in like the 90s, late 80s, 90s. I mean, shut down the city big. There's a museum right in Boston called the Elizabeth Stuart Gardner Museum. And it is world renowned. It is it gives any museum in the United States or maybe the world a run for its money. The building was built 100 years ago. So St. Patrick's Day was on a Saturday night, May 17th, 1990. 2 guys dressed as cops show up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So most cops are going to be either busy, with dealing with drunks at 2 a.m. on technically the night after St. Patrick's Day, but it was a Saturday night St. Patrick's Day. It was the largest art heist in the world, Biff, of all time. This is the largest. And it's a 4-part series. There's one character that they talk to who was a big rocker in Boston in the late 50s, all through the 60s, early 70s. And just as his career would take the next step, he get arrested for robbing a bank and go to jail for 2 years. And then he'd come out and he would put his band together. And it was like a real life Blues Brothers. They would start to turn. They'd have a local hit on local radio. He turned the corner and then And at one point in the mid-70s, he basically decided, I'm going to steal this piece of artwork from the Museum of Fine Arts in New York and use it as leverage next time I get arrested to get out of jail. I'll give you the painting back if you can let me out of jail. And
interesting strategy.
Dude, so this art heist happened over 30 years ago. It's not solved. This is one of those true crime things that it puts all the pieces together. It talks to the security people on duty that day. It talks to well-known, it goes through, but it also, you're talking to the local cops who investigated the case, the FBI who investigated the case. Like, this is all 30 years later. It's pre-DNA, and it's really frustrating because they didn't think, we should sweep up these screws and these nails when they pulled the frames off the wall because we can dust these for prints someday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, it's fascinating. It's fascinating the people they talked to, the people they had access to. And, a lot of people outside of Boston don't know that, yes, the Irish mob is huge here, but the Italian mob, the Irish mob it was bigger than the Italian mob, all through the Whitey Bulger, everybody knows Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
Whitey Bulger was just another Irish mobster back then. You know what I mean? But
right.
And it's like they went through person by person of interest, and what's interesting is it could have been this guy who was stealing it for this guy, but it's hard to ask him because this guy got whacked and then this guy was found in a trunk, dude. It's a 4-part series.
So
it's called.
You said that, so they were dressed up as policemen, so they came in without their face covered or anything like that. So like
just walk
people's face.
Yep. Are they fake mustaches and fake glasses?
Yeah.
At the same time, was it an inside job? And it could have. It sets it up like you're ending one episode. It's like, oh my God, there's no way this wasn't an inside job. And the next episode, you're like, oh, that guy couldn't have had anything to do with it, dude. It's fascinating. It's also frustrating because it's one of those things where they called in this expert whose whole job is he goes around the world consulting on art museum security, and they showed him like the computer printout that night of the system that they had could tell when somebody entered a room and and he's like, yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing this. If I saw this 30 years ago, I would have come out with this analysis. Like the local cops didn't talk to the feds, who didn't talk to the consultants, who didn't talk to the private detectives. It's fascinating, and you feel bad because the woman who ran the museum was just hired months before. And now it's but it's to date the biggest art heist in the world to date, unsolved 30 years later.
Wow.
It's called This Is a Robbery. It's on Netflix. Highly, highly, highly recommended. Gaming wise, moving on to gaming, I'm on the fence because, as you know, Biff, as Joe knows, I'm quite the fan of the Resident Evil games franchise. I'm not the movies. The Resident Evil movies are fine, but I love the games. They are my favorite video games. The latest incarnation came out today, or this past weekend, I should say. I'm on the fence because I haven't got it, because I know I'm going to get a PS5 sooner or later. Between now and Christmas, I'll get a PS5. I don't want to spend the $80 to get it for the PS4, although my son, who's 13, really wants me to. He doesn't want to get the Resident Evil game. He wants me to get the game because and he does. He knows I like the game, and for me, he wants me to get it. And I'm a cheap bastard. It's like, if I get it on the PS4 now, it can play on the PlayStation 5. But if you're going to get the PlayStation 5, you want to get the PlayStation 5 version of it and get the better graphics. It's like, if I'm going to get it. So maybe I'll break down and get it next week. I'm guessing you don't have much in the video game recommendations.
No, I don't.
So you got a parenting tip for me?
It's all I can say is I bought dirt this week. My wonderful son took it out of the car for me so I don't have to freaking break my back. So thank goodness for the young child with the strong, muscles to do my, heavy labor for me that I'm no longer, wanting to do anymore. Is he over 18 and still living with you? That he can carry the dirt from the car? God.
Well,
no, but it's cool.
Did you tell him it's for your shallow grave? My parenting tip. So you
know what? The sad part is, he would have to dig the shallow grave for me.
That's true. Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, why dig it yourself? I'm trying to think of the famous Marx Brothers line. We'll have to buy the graves. Our men are dropping like flies. We'll have to buy their graves ready-made or something. Anyways, my parenting tip. So my little guy plays Little League. He's not an athlete, doesn't really like it. He's doing it to kind of help out a buddy and a buddy's family. Right. But his team the other day did well, and he was very happy that they did well. He was 0 for 3, hit by a pitch. So he made, so I'm trying to.
He got on base, damn it.
I'm trying to teach him to lean in more. So so he laments it. He wishes he was better at it. At the same time, doesn't want to do work. So my parenting tip is sometimes you just have to.
Did you go to the batting cage?
No, because he's not ready for a batting cage. So I bought a batting tee, and so. Just the other day, after school, I said, option 1, we can go to the field and you can hit 100 balls off this tee, and then I got to run some errands, and I will get you the ice cream sandwiches you want. Or I can run the errands, and then we can go to the field and sit there for the length of time it would take to do it before you get home and get to use your computer and play Minecraft. So either way, you're going to be at the field for that length of time, whether you want to make time serve you or you want to serve time. That's a you thing. And I did. That's exactly what I did. I got everything out of the car. He wasn't happy about it. I walked over, and then 5-6 minutes into it, he's like, I don't know why I fight Papa. This is fun. Like, he actually had fun doing it. And, the batting cages, the accuracy on those things aren't as helpful as you think. But,
no, they're not.
But this is a walk before you run thing. Like, if he works on his swing, and it's funny because management came to one of his games and he's out there playing right field. And she's like, they always make him play right field. He never gets a ball hit to him. I'm like, right. And everybody should play every position to get a chance if they want to, but he doesn't even want to show up 10 minutes early to take, because a coach will hit ground balls to you. Yeah. Like the kids who want to play shortstop first and second, they'll take the ground balls and stuff. If he wanted to, if he came to me and said, I wish I could take a turn of pitching, I wish I could take a turn at this, I'd be like, let's go down to the field and do it. And then I'll talk to the coach. But if you don't want to put in the work, then I'm not going to say, but he did, he ended up having fun. So my parenting tip is, you can give them the options, but, create this scenario where it's like, okay, you can sit there and not do it for the next half hour, or you can come out and have fun, get something out of it. And that is me. I'm going to leave it up to you after I brag a little bit about our ending song. When before the pandemic hit, since moving back here, on one hand, I have you, All-Star, and John in LA and Friday night and people like Scotty Black, and I can't put into words how much I miss that. On the other hand, back here, I have Joe, who I did this with, and, even before that, it's a different life with Joe, and my friend Dan, who I jam with, So since being back here, Dan and I have jammed. We played a couple of shows before the pandemic. It was fun. It was really great. No delusions of mediocrity. Just we like getting together and playing for the sake of getting together. The pandemic hits. We didn't really see each other. One of the very few upsides to Joe saying, hey, here's all the gear, figure it out. Right. I was actually able to figure out how to use the gear to record drums. Yeah. And so the song that I'm playing, Dan and I started working on, right as the pandemic hit. And about a month or so ago, he sent me the song that he did, and he put the computer drums in, and they were great. I heard it a little different. He's great at programming drums. They usually sound great. He doesn't usually put a lot of fills and tempo changes in it. And because I'm a drummer, I hear it a little differently. So this is the first song that we've recorded since the pandemic, or recorded together in a long time. I recorded the drums, mixed it, sent it to him, and of course Dan's like, this is good, can you just send me the drum tracks? and look, I mean, good, I'm staying in my lane. It's like, I hey, here's how it is. So I was able to figure out to use the mixer enough in order to do it. So, and this is Dan's music is very much akin to, lyrically, he's very much like Randy Newman. And when you hear Randy Newman's I Love LA, or you hear Randy Newman's Short People, and it's like, short people got no reason to live. Yeah, the guy's 5'1". Listen to the whole song. The song isn't about, it's an anti-racism song. It's like,
well, yeah. I mean, people don't, people. I mean, Randy Newman's one of the most misunderstood lyricists, right? And so, because So do you not get the joke?
So a lot of Dan's music is like Dan's things are ironically hilarious. He's like a walking Vonnegut character is what he is. So this song is called Building a Wall, and it's all about building a wall to hang, and there's like 7 verses, and each one built, and it circles back to, we got to build the wall to keep out these rapists who take all the jobs and then go on welfare, and It is hysterical. It's poignant. It's funny. I'm very proud of this. It's called Building the Wall. I babbled enough. Biff, have a fantastic week. I hope you're right with most of your picks, except the ones against the Bruins. And,
I don't care if I'm wrong.
and I will chat with everybody in a couple of weeks. Next week is Tom Rogan. Absolutely great guy. He really fun. And now I turn it over to you.
Well, so as I was thinking about all of the stuff that happened in the NHL this week, I just want you to remember, don't forget